The kitchen door swung shut behind me, slamming into the heat like a wall. Sweat beaded on my neck before I even tied my apron. Pots clanged against stoves, knives sliced through vegetables with sharp whispers, and the air hung thick with garlic and searing meat. I was the new sous chef at La Riviere, and every eye flicked my way, but hers lingered. Sophia, the head chef, stood at the pass, her hands steady on a cutting board, posture taut under the fluorescent hum. Our gazes caught mid-prep, mine fumbling a fillet, hers unflinching across the steam. Time stretched. Her dark eyes held mine, unreadable, and my chest tightened. This wasn't just a job. In this isolated rush, one wrong look could unravel everything. But I couldn't look away. My first shift dove straight into the fire. That first week blurred into a rhythm of precision and exhaustion. The kitchen at La Riviere moved like a living thing. Line cooks shouting orders, flames leaping under pans, the sizzle of proteins hitting hot iron. I arrived at dawn each day, muscles already aching from the commute through city traffic, only to step into this high-stakes world where a second's delay meant disaster. Sophia ran it all with reserved authority. Her commands cut through the chaos, short and unyielding. Sauce on the edge, not center. She moved between stations, shoulders squared under her white jacket, every gesture deliberate. I watched her hands more than I should, calloused fingers gripping a whisk, veins standing out as she tempered chocolate. They spoke of years in this grind, scars from hot oil and sharp blades hidden under sleeves. Proximity came fast. During prep, our arms brushed in the narrow aisle by the walk-in, her scent of fresh herbs and faint soap cutting through the onions. I told myself it was nothing, just the heat making my skin prickle. But late shifts lingered in my mind. After service, when the dining room emptied and the crew thinned, we'd wipe down counters side by side. The clatter faded to scrapes of steel wool on stainless steel. Once, as I scrubbed a stubborn stain, Sophia leaned in close, her breath warm near my ear. "Loosen your grip, it'll come off easier." Her hand covered mine, guiding the motion, firm, corrective. My pulse thudded. I pulled back too quick, mumbling thanks, but the touch burned longer than any stove. Desire crept in quiet, like steam rising slow. I'd catch myself staring during family meal, when she'd portion out the staff's simple plates with that steady gaze scanning the room. Was it mutual? Her eyes would meet mine across the salad station, hold a beat too long, then flick away. The kitchen felt smaller then, walls closing in with the weight of unspoken things. Forbidden didn't cover it. She was the owner's pick, the one who could end my shot here with a word. I was fresh from culinary school, hungry to prove myself in this isolated bubble of perfection. One slip, and the attraction I'd buried could cost us both. Her reputation, my career. Try-fail cycles define those days. Early on, I overseasoned a reduction during lunch rush. Sophia tasted it, face neutral, then nodded me to the stove. "Balance it. Now." Her body heat pressed close as she adjusted the flame, our hips nearly touching. I focused on the bubbling liquid, but my hands shook. Success came in small wins, plating a dish that earned her rare nod. But failure stung with her unflinching critique. Sharper knife work. Precision matters. Each correction pulled me closer, physically and otherwise. Nights ended with us last to leave, stacking chairs in silence. The air thickened, her silhouette against the dimmed lights. I wondered if she felt it too. The pull, the risk. But we never spoke it. Not yet. Service escalated soon after, pulling us deeper into the heat. Mid-service chaos hit like a storm that Friday night. The dining room buzzed, with reservations full, waitstaff darting in and out with clipped demands. Table 12 needs the duck rare, not medium. Flames roared under the sauté pans, steam curling up in thick clouds that blurred the edges of everything. I manned the grill station, flipping fillets with tongs that slipped in my sweat-slit grip. The heat pressed in, making my shirt cling under the apron, every breath shallow against the roar. Sophia was across from me at the pass, her back to the expediting window, directing the flow with that taut efficiency. She plated a risotto, her knife flashing in precise arcs, sauce drizzled in perfect loops. It happened without warning. I glanced up from the searing scallops, wiping sweat from my brow with the back of my wrist. Our eyes locked across the flaming stove. The shouts around us faded, the sizzle of oil, the clatter of plates, the urgent calls from the line, all muffled under the weight of that stare. Her dark eyes held mine, unflinching, like she saw straight through the steam and the chaos to something raw. Time stretched thin. My tongs hovered midair, the scallop charring forgotten on the iron. Sophia's hand paused on the cutting board, the knife balanced there, her fingers tightening around the handle. A flicker crossed her face, composure cracking just enough to show the vulnerability underneath, like a shadow moving under still water. My body betrayed me then. Heart thudding hard against my ribs, heat flooding my cheeks and neck, flushing skin that already burned from the stoves. I felt exposed, the apron suddenly too tight, every nerve alive to her presence 10 feet away but feeling like inches. Was this the moment it broke open? The kitchen's isolation amplified it, this high-pressure world where one wrong move ruined a dish, or a career. Her gaze didn't waver, pulling me in deeper, and for a beat, I saw it mirrored. The same unspoken pull, the risk we'd both ignored. The spell snapped when a server barked for the next course. Sophia blinked first, turning back to her station with a sharp nod. On it. Fire the apps for 16. Her voice came out steady, but I caught the slight gravel in it, the way her shoulders tensed as she resumed slicing. I flipped the scallops too hard, one skidding off the edge into the flame with a hiss. The awkward silence stretched between stations, broken only by the rhythm of work. No one else noticed, heads down in their tasks, but the tension lingered like smoke, heavy in the air. I plated the order with shaking hands, pushing it across the pass. Our fingers brushed the edge of the tray, brief, electric. She didn't pull away immediately. Internal conflict gnawed at me through the rest of service. Fear of exposure clawed up my throat. This wasn't some casual glance. It was a line crossed in a space built on professionalism. Sophia was the anchor here, the one who shaped the kitchen's pulse, and I was the newcomer, still proving my edge. If that gaze meant what I thought, it could unravel us both. Whispers to the owner, shifts reassigned, the isolation of the job turning suffocating. I busied myself with mise en place, chopping herbs finer than needed, but my mind replayed it, her eyes softening, hand pausing. Had she felt it too, or was I reading heat into steam? The dining room's demands kept us moving, but every cross-aisle pass felt charged. Her silhouette pulling my focus. Service wound down past 10, the rush easing to stragglers. I avoided her eyes during breakdown, wiping down my station with deliberate strokes. But proximity forced it, grabbing herbs from the shared rack, our arms nearly touching again. "Good volume tonight," she said, voice low, not looking up from her own cleanup. I nodded, throat tight. "Yeah, kept us on our toes." The words hung ordinary, but the undercurrent pulled. I decided then to maintain distance during prep shifts, stick to my side of the line, bury the want under routine. Easier said in a kitchen this small. The next morning's inventory loomed, forcing us close once more. Prep shifts tested my resolve from the start. The kitchen filled early with the grind of mortars and the chop of knives on wood, sunlight slanting through high windows onto steel counters. I stuck to my corner, focusing on julienning carrots, knife rhythm steady to drown out the pull. But inventory pulled us together twice a week, stocking shelves in the narrow dry goods room, shelves crammed with jars of spices and sacks of flour that left barely room to turn. Sophia led it, clipboard in hand, her voice listing counts. 20 quarts oil, check the dates. Our arms brushed as I reached for a higher shelf, her sleeve grazing my wrist, sending a jolt through me like static from the walk-in door. I tried pulling back, angling my body away, but the space forced it. Her instructions came dry, almost clipped, yet laced with something heavier. Rotate the stock, oldest forward. As she bent to lift a crate, I caught her scent again, herbs clinging to her skin from morning meese, mixed with the faint earthiness of root vegetables. It settled in my lungs, making the air feel thicker. My avoidance cracked that Tuesday. Reaching for a box of dried chilies, I knocked it sideways, red flakes spilling across the floor in a dusty cloud. Damn. I dropped to knees, sweeping them up with hands that wouldn't steady. Sophia knelt beside me, close enough her knee pressed against mine. Let me. Her hand covered mine on the broom handle, guiding the sweep. Firm pressure, calluses rough against my skin. Heat rose in my face, not from the spill. She didn't move away right then, her breath even near my shoulder. Steady now. They'll grind fine for the next batch. Her voice gravelly, but softer than usual, like the edge dulled. I nodded, throat tight, questioning everything. That gaze from service, had it been mutual or just the chaos playing tricks? Her shoulders tensed under the uniform as she stood, fabric pulling taut across her back, and I wondered what hid beneath the reserve. The undercurrent built through those routines. During line setup, we'd pass tools, tongs, spatulas, fingers lingering a second too long on the handle. Once, as I prepped dough, she leaned over my station checking the fold. Even pressure. Her palm pressed flat on the board near mine, veins standing out, and I felt the warmth radiate. Emotional weight pressed in. Was this the isolation of the kitchen warping things, or something real? Forbidden lines blurred in the daily grind, her authority a constant reminder of stakes. One whisper to the owner and I'd be out. Career barely started. A small revelation came midweek, during a quiet moment restocking the walk-in. Cold air bit at my arms as I slid trays of butter onto shelves. Sophia followed, door clicking shut behind her. These scars, she said suddenly, voice low against the hum of the cooling unit. She rolled up a sleeve, revealing faint white lines crisscrossing her forearm. Old burns from a flare-up years back. First-year head chef. Pushed too hard, paid for it. Her fingers traced one, eyes distant. I stared, seeing the woman behind the commands, vulnerable in the chill. Does it still hurt? She shook her head, gaze meeting mine briefly, unflinching again. Reminds me to stay sharp. The door handle rattled then, a cook calling from outside, but the moment hung. We emerged into the warmth, resuming counts, but the air between us shifted. My attempts at distance failed harder after that. Every brush, every shared exhale, pulling tighter. Desire simmered under the surface, my body betraying me with a thud in my chest whenever she passed. I questioned the gaze more, replaying her softened voice, the scars. Mutual? The kitchen's pressure amplified it all, turning routine into risk. Then came the supply shortage, rush hour bearing down, forcing us into the walk-in together once more. Rush hour slammed into us that Thursday like a freight train. The dining room overflowed with a corporate crowd, suits demanding the tasting menu at full speed. Servers flew through the swing doors, tickets piling up on the pass like accusations. "Fire 2 beef, 1 vegan swap," the line cook shouted back, pans hissing as butter hit iron, flames licking up sides. I was deep in the weeds at my station, searing fillets with a focus that bordered on frenzy, sweat tracing lines down my temples despite the fans whirring overhead. Sophia orchestrated it all from the center, her voice cutting through the din. "Push the apps, we're backed up on mains." Her posture held that familiar tautness, arms crossed as she scanned the chaos, every muscle coiled under the white jacket. The crisis hit when we ran dry on frozen stock mid-stride. The sous vide machine beeped empty, and a server yelled for more lobster tails for table 8. "We're out," one of the prep guys called, eyes wide. Sophia didn't hesitate. "I'll grab it. You, with me, now." Her gaze flicked to me across the steam, unflinching, pulling me from the grill without a second thought. Heart thudding from the heat, I wiped my hands on a towel and followed her to the walk-in freezer at the back. The kitchen blurred behind us, clangs and shouts fading as we pushed through the heavy door. Cold air rushed out like a slap, biting at my flushed skin, turning sweat to chill in seconds. We stepped inside together, the door swinging shut with a solid thud that echoed off metal walls. Sophia reached for the lower shelves, pulling out a crate of tails with efficient pulls, her breath visible in the frosty air. "Hand me the box from up top." I stretched for it, fingers numb already on the icy edge, sliding it down. But as I turned to pass it, the door refused to budge. I pushed, nothing. Pulled harder, the handle slick under my grip. It's stuck. Panic edged my voice, sharp against the hum of the compressor. Sophia tried next, shoulder pressing into the frame, muscles straining under her sleeve. No give. The lock had jammed, a rare glitch in the old mechanism, sealing us in this 10 by 10 icebox. Confined space hit immediate. The freezer's walls loomed close, shelves crammed with bins of stock, meats wrapped tight, vegetables frosted over, leaving barely room to shift without brushing. Every breath amplified, mine shallow and quick, hers slower, measured, fogging the air between us. Cold seeped through my jacket, prickling skin, but her proximity cut it. Body heat radiating in the narrow gap, making the chill feel thicker, heavier with unspoken weight. I leaned against a shelf, crates digging into my back, aware of her every move. The rise of her chest, the way her fingers flexed against the door, unflinching even now. My pulse raced, mixing fear of the trap with that deeper awareness, the pull I'd tried burying since the gaze. Here, in this frozen isolation, it sharpened. Her scent faint but there, herbs undercut by the sterile cold. "Radio for help," Sophia said, voice steady but low, pulling the walkie from her belt. Static crackled as she keyed it, the signal weak inside the metal cage. "Line, this is Chef. Doors jammed on the walk-in. Send someone." More static, then nothing. She tried again, frowning, the device clutched tight in her hand. "Signal's dead in here. Always has been." We waited, breaths sinking in the quiet, but no response came. The kitchen's distant roar filtered through faintly, pots banging, orders flying, but it felt worlds away, leaving us suspended in this limbo. Discomfort built slow. My hands went numb first, fingers stiffening as I rubbed them together, the cold gnawing deeper into joints. Shivers started at my core, teeth chattering despite clenched jaw. Sophia paced the small square, 2 steps one way, 2 back, her boots scraping frost from the floor. But warmth crept in anyway. From her nearness, the shared space forcing us shoulder to shoulder against the door, her arm pressed mine, solid and warm through layers, chasing off the bite for a moment. I caught her exhale, close enough to feel it on my neck, and my body responded, heat flushing despite the freeze, chest tight with the nearness. She stopped pacing, leaning beside me, head back against the shelf. Vulnerability cracked through then, her reserve thinning in the trap. "This job," she said quietly, eyes on the ceiling pipes dripping condensation. "The pressure never lets up. One night like this, and it all piles on. Expectations from the owner, the crew looking to you to hold it together." Her voice graveled softer, fingers tracing a frost pattern on the wall. I glanced at her, seeing the lines around her eyes deepen, the weight she carried alone. "You ever feel like it's too much?" The question hung, her gaze shifting to mine, unflinching but edged with something raw. Cold air thickened the words, turning them heavy, pulling us toward the conversation we couldn't avoid. Trap time stretched ahead, the door still sealed, forcing us deeper into the quiet truths. Cold sank deeper into my bones, the kind that started in fingers and toes and worked toward the center. I shifted against the shelf, metal biting through my jacket. Sophia stood close now, her arm still pressed to mine, the only warmth in this frozen box. Her question hung there, about the pressure being too much. I met her gaze, unflinching despite the shivers rattling my teeth. "All the time," I said, voice steady through the chill. But that gaze during service last week, it hit different. Made the heat feel personal. Words tumbled out, raw against the hum of the compressor. Her eyes narrowed slightly, but she didn't look away. I pushed on, breath fogging between us. I couldn't shake it, like you saw me, really saw me, across all that steam. She exhaled, slow, the sound cutting the quiet. Her fingers flexed at her sides, knuckles whitening against the cold. "Past betrayals," she said finally, voice low and gravelly. "This industry chews up trust. I was young, head chef at a place downtown. Slept with a line cook, thought it was real. She leaked recipes to a competitor when things soured. Cost me the job. My name dragged through reviews. Sophia's shoulders drew in, taut under the fabric, as if bracing against the memory. She rubbed her arms, sleeves bunching. Learned to keep walls up. Reserved isn't cold, it's survival. No room for slips in a kitchen like this. The air thickened, her words pulling us closer in the tight space. My shivers worsened, chest heaving with each breath, but her nearness sparked something else, warmth pooling low despite the freeze. I reached out, hesitant, my hand finding hers. Skin met skin, numb at first, then the contact lingered. Her palm was rough, calluses from knives and pans pressing into mine. We clasped tight, fingers interlocking for the heat, her grip firm but not pulling away. Pulses thudded together, mine racing, hers steady but quickening. Shared exhales mingled, warm puffs in the cold, her breath brushing my wrist. Muscles tensed, mine coiling in my arms, hers in her forearm where veins stood out. Desire hummed subtle, a taut line between us, every shift amplifying the press of her thigh against mine. She didn't let go. Her thumb traced a slow circle on my knuckle, unintentional or not, sending sparks up my arm. That gaze, she admitted, eyes unreadable at first, dark against the frost on the walls. Wasn't just checking your station. The words dropped heavy, her voice softening at the edges. Vulnerability flickered there, reserve cracking like thin ice. She squeezed my hand, gaze holding mine, unflinching but warmer now, the hardness easing. Felt it too, the pull. Been ignoring it since you started, your hands on the knife, the way you move through the rush. But it's there. Emotional turn hit sharp. Relief mixed with the cold, chest loosening even as shivers gripped. We stood like that, hands clasped, bodies inches apart in the confined chill. Her eyes softened fully, the unreadable mask gone, showing the woman behind the commands, tired, wanting. I leaned in fractionally, forehead nearly touching hers, breaths sinking in the quiet. The moment stretched, desire building through sensations, the taut flex of her bicep as she shifted closer, the shared warmth chasing frost from our skin. Exhales turning ragged. It wasn't just survival now, it was admission, the forbidden line blurring in the freeze. Distant sounds broke through then, kitchen chaos filtering faint through the door. Pots clanged, a muffled shout for orders, the rush still raging without us. External stakes crashed back, the owner's scrutiny, the crew's eyes, the isolation of this job turning trap to reminder. One wrong word out there, and this, us, could shatter careers built on precision. Sophia's grip tightened briefly, then loosened, reality pressing in. The door rattled suddenly, metal groaning. "Chef, you in there?" A cook's voice, urgent. Sophia pulled her hand free, slow, regret in the drag of her fingers. "Yeah, jammed. Push from outside." The handle turned, door swinging open with a whoosh of warm air. Light flooded in, steam and heat rushing to meet the cold. We stepped out, blinking against the kitchen's roar. Bonds shifted, unspoken but sealed. Awkwardness waited, but so did the pull. The morning after the freezer, the kitchen felt different, charged, like the air before a storm hits the line. I tied my apron tighter, focusing on the rhythm of chopping onions, the sharp bite of fume stinging my eyes to match the burn inside. Sophia moved through prep with her usual reserve, clipboard in hand, voice steady as she called out stock levels. But stolen glances pulled at us. During line setup, as I arranged my station, her eyes flicked to mine across the sauté pans. Brief, unflinching, then away. I caught it, heat rising in my chest despite the early chill from the open walk-in door. She plated a test dish at the pass, knife scraping clean, and I felt her gaze on my hands as I tempered the sauce beside her. No words, just that quiet pull, making the space between stations feel too small. I threw myself into work to drown it out. Distraction came in the details, perfecting reductions until they gleamed, searing proteins to exact temps without a tick off. Under her watch, I excelled. During lunch service, I plated a special, seared scallops nestled in herb foam garnished with microgreens, that earned her nod from the pass. "Clean work," she said, voice low amid the sizzle, her fingers brushing the edge of the plate as she inspected. Pride swelled, mixed with the want I'd admitted in the cold. Her approval grounded me, but it sharpened the edge too. Every success a reminder of the line we couldn't cross openly. She kept distance, professional as ever, commands crisp, no lingering near my station. But small gestures betrayed the care. Mid-shift, when the rush eased for a breath, she slid a stool my way. "Take 5. You've been on since open." Her tone was neutral, eyes on the clock. But I saw the flicker, the way her shoulders relaxed a fraction when I sat. Another time, during breakdown, she handed me a fresh towel without asking, our fingers grazing. "Wipe down the grill. It's holding heat." Simple, but the cloth still warm from her grip, carrying that faint herb scent. These cracks in her reserve pulled at me, making the forbidden feel closer, riskier. Internal weight pressed in those quiet moments. Alone at my station, knife pausing mid-chop, I'd weigh it all. The rush of her hand in mine, the softness in her eyes against the reality of this place. La Riviere was isolated, high pressure, the owner's world where whispers traveled fast. She was head chef, his right hand. I was the new Sue, replaceable if things soured. One rumor of us, and it could end her streak, my start. But the pull was real, born in glances and touches, not some fleeting heat. Did I risk the career I'd clawed for, or let the want simmer unspoken? My body betrayed the debate, pulse quickening at her voice, skin prickling when she passed. The kitchen's walls closed in, amplifying the stakes, turning every shift into a tightrope. Try, fail, hit, during a busy dinner turn. I was expediting apps, Sophia plating mains nearby, when a line cook, Marco, always watching, nudged my arm. "You two syncing up weird tonight. That glance earlier? Like you're reading each other's minds." His grin was half joke, but exposure clawed up my throat. I laughed it off, dry as dust. "Just trying not to burn the place down. Focus on your station." Heart thudding, I shot her a look. She'd heard, posture tensing as she adjusted a sauce. We pulled back harder, after, movements clipped. But the near miss lingered, a warning shot. Self-doubt crept in with dry humor. Late that night, stacking crates alone, I muttered to the empty air. Great, now I'm the punchline in my own head. She clasps hands in a freezer, and I think it's destiny. More like desperation in 30 degrees. But the doubt cracked against the memory of her thumb on my knuckle, the admission in her voice. Intentions blurred, care or caution. The pull won out, quiet but insistent. Then external pressure mounted. Whispers reached me. The owner sniffing around, rumors of favoritism in the high-end grind. Sophia's face tightened during family meal, fork pausing mid-bite. Close hit, air thick with the unresolved, pushing us toward a private confrontation after hours. Rumors thickened the air like over-reduced sauce by week's end. The owner, Mr. Laurent, started circling the kitchen more, sharp-eyed inspections during service, his cologne cutting through the garlic haze as he leaned over the pass. "Everything running smooth?" he'd ask, gaze lingering on Sophia's interactions with the line, then flicking to me. Whispers spread among the crew during family meal, forks scraping plates quieter than usual. "Favoritism," Marco muttered once, low enough for only the prep guys to hear. "New Sue gets the easy stations, chef's golden nods." It wasn't true. I pulled doubles like everyone, hands raw from scrubbing. But the isolation of La Riviere amplified it. High-end spot, tucked in the city's edge, where one bad review or internal drama could tank the whole operation. Sophia's face hardened at the mentions, her commands clipping shorter, posture tauter under the lights. The ultimatum landed Monday morning, pre-shift huddle. Laurent pulled Sophia aside by the walk-in, door half open so voices carried. I busied myself with me's, knife thudding into carrots, but words filtered through. Professionalism, Sophia. Rumors like this erode trust. Echoes of that mess downtown won't have it here. Her response stayed low, gravelly edge sharpening, but I caught the flinch in her shoulders. Past threats resurfaced. The betrayal she'd confessed in the cold, now a shadow over her role. Head chef meant everything, built on years of unflinching precision. One slip, and it crumbled. She emerged pale, eyes unreadable, and dove into prep without a word. The crew felt it too. Tension coiling like steam under pressure. I couldn't let it simmer. After close that night, kitchen empty save the hum of fridges, I waited by the dish pit. Lights dimmed to exit glow, shadows stretching across stainless counters. Sophia stacked the last trays, back to me, movements deliberate but heavy. "We need to talk," I said, voice cutting the quiet. She turned slow, wiping hands on her apron, gaze meeting mine unflinching across the pass. Air thickened with the unresolved. Want from the freezer, fear from the rumors, pressing in like the walls during rush. This favoritism talk. It's because of us. She crossed arms, leaning against the counter, but didn't deny it. Laurent's warning me. Keep it professional, or consequences. Argument sparked fast, words tumbling in the empty space. You can't just shut down. We felt it. Hands clasped, admissions in the cold. My voice rose, fists clenching at my sides. She stepped closer, heat radiating despite the cooled ovens. This world is isolated. Lose control and it swallows you. Job, respect, everything. Her eyes held mine, dark and steady, but vulnerability edged in, the reserve cracking. I reached out, hand landing on her shoulder, firm muscle under fabric, warm through the chill of night air seeping from the back door. She didn't pull away, contact lingering, thumb brushing her collarbone unintentional. Eye contact unflinching, breaths sinking ragged, the touch electric in the dim light. Revelation hit then, her voice dropping. Fear's real. Losing control here means losing it all. Past scars reopen, career unravels. Shoulders tensed under my palm, but she leaned in fractionally, admitting the pull we'd both ignored. Desire escalated sharp, my resolve steady but betraying me, body flushing hot, pulse thudding against the want to close the gap. Betrayal twisted in my gut, not at her, but at the stakes forcing this dance. We stood there, hands dropping slow, air heavy with what we couldn't say. Kitchen echoed empty, but the bond pulled tighter, unresolved. Transition came bold the next off hours. I texted her dawn patrol. Meet at the market, away from steel and steam. Time to decide. Hide or claim it. Risks be damned. Dawn patrol at the market pulled us from the kitchen's grip, but the pull followed. We met by the herb stalls, air crisp with dew and the sharp tang of fresh basil. Away from steel counters and watchful eyes. Sophia arrived first, hands tucked into jacket pockets, her silhouette cutting through the early fog. I approached slow, heart thudding against my ribs like a mallet on dough. You came, I said, voice low amid the vendor's quiet calls. She nodded, eyes meeting mine unflinching. The reserve there, but thinner now, edged with the same want that had simmered since the freezer. We walked the aisles without plan, baskets filling with greens and roots, but words hung heavy between us. The market's isolation mirrored the kitchen's. Fewer eyes, but stakes just as high. One slip here, and rumors solidified. Back at La Riviere by late afternoon, off-hours inventory forced us alone. The owner out, crew dismissed early for a slow Tuesday. Kitchen dimmed to work lights, shadows pooling on the tile, the hum of fridges the only sound. We started in the dry goods, counting jars side by side, but tension coiled tight from the morning. As I reached for a shelf of spices, our arms brushed, deliberate this time, neither pulling away. The gaze reignited then, her dark eyes locking on mine across the narrow space, unflinching, pulling me in like steam drawing moisture. Time slowed, the clipboard forgotten in her grip. Can't keep pretending, she said, voice gravelly, dropping the armor she'd worn so long. I set my list down, steps closing the gap until counters pressed at our backs. She leaned against the edge, hands gripping the cool stainless, knuckles whitening. Your presence, she admitted, eyes distant but voice steady. Hit's different. The way your knife moves through onions, steady rhythm pulling focus. Or when you plate, fingers precise, but that flush under the heat. Sensory things. Your scent after rush, sweat and herbs clinging. Ignored it at first, told myself it was the job's grind. Her words dropped raw, reserve cracking fully, vulnerability spilling like sauce over the rim. I stepped closer, the air thickening between us, her breath sinking with mine, shallow, quick in the dim light. Hands found the counter too, mine beside hers, fingers inches apart, the metal cold under palms but warmth building from proximity. Intimacy sharpened in that space. Her shoulder brushed mine, solid under the jacket, and I felt the taut flex of her arm as she shifted. Breaths mingled, exhales warm against my neck, pulses thudding visible in her throat. I traced the edge of the counter with one finger, close to hers, the pull magnetic. Felt it since day one, I confessed, voice low. Your hands guiding mine, unflinching stare across the line. Deeper than want. It's you, the steady in the chaos. Emotional payoff crashed then. Declarations amid the kitchen's echoes, fridge hum underscoring the quiet. Love the way you hold this place together, I said, gaze holding hers. But more, love seeing you let go, even glimpses. She turned fully, body angling toward mine, eyes softening. You make me want to. Risk it all for this. For us. Complication lingered in the air. Laurent's warnings, the crew's whispers, but we faced it head on. We'll navigate discreet, she said, hand sliding to cover mine on the counter, grip firm. Stolen moments, professional by day. But no more hiding. Agreement sealed it, her thumb pressing into my palm, chasing tension with resolve. Physical sensations grounded us, edges clutched tight under fingers, pulses thudding in sync, her warmth cutting the kitchen's chill. Desire hummed, bodies close, enough thighs nearly touched, breaths ragged but controlled. Vulnerability mutual now, her armor down, mine exposed in the honest exchange. We stood there, foreheads nearly meeting, the dim light casting soft shadows on her face, unflinching in the bond we'd claimed. Transition eased as we finished inventory. Touches lingering subtle. Fingers grazing during counts. Integration waited, weaving this into daily life. The kitchen no longer just work, but ours. Weeks slipped by in a new rhythm. The kitchen's pulse steady, but laced with our secret. Service ran smoother now, the line moving like a well-oiled machine. Pans hissing in sync, plates firing without a hitch. I found my footing as Sue, calling orders with less second-guessing. My knife work sharper, reductions clinging perfect to spoons. Sophia's commands still cut through the chaos, but they carried a softer edge. Her voice gravelly yet encouraging during family meal. That sear on the duck? Spot on. Her nod across the pass felt earned, not just professional, warming me more than the stoves ever could. Hidden intimacies wove in subtle, like threads in a fine sauce. Coffee breaks became our stolen ground. Mid-morning, when the crew scattered to smoke or scroll, we'd lean against the back door, mugs steaming in our hands. Her fingers would brush mine, passing the creamer, lingering a beat, calluses rough against my skin. Once, as rain pattered the loading dock roof, she traced the rim of her cup, eyes meeting mine unflinching. This, us, makes the grind bearable. The words hung quiet, her shoulder pressing mine against the frame, warmth seeping through jackets. Desire simmered there, controlled but alive. Breaths sinking in the damp air, pulses thudding low. My growth sharpened in those spaces. confidence built, not just in plating or timing the rush, but in holding her gaze without flinching. I'd catch myself moving with more intent, shoulders squared under the heat, the isolation of La Riviere feeling less like a cage and more like a shared world. Sophia transformed too, cracks in her reserve widening to glimpses of ease. Smiles came unbidden now, quick curves at my stations during prep, less taut commands when volume spiked. During breakdown, she'd loosen her collar first, rolling sleeves to reveal those faint scars, no longer hiding them. Helps with the steam, she'd say, voice light, but her eyes held mine longer. Vulnerability turned strength. The owner's scrutiny faded as performance held, reviews poured in glowing, the crew's whispers dying under solid shifts. We navigated discreet, no overt touches in the line, but the bond pulled us through. Late nights, after stacking chairs and dimming lights, we'd linger by the walk-in, her hand finding my lower back in the shadows, thumb pressing firm. "You steady me," she'd murmur, breath warm on my neck, bodies close enough to feel the rise and fall. Emotional weight settled deep, love grown from glances and confessions, rooted in the kitchen's grind. I felt it in my chest, a steady thud matching hers. The forbidden turned foundation. Final image came one post-service quiet. The dining room emptied, silverware clinking faint from the dishwasher. We wiped the past together, cloth scraping in rhythm, her silhouette soft under the exit lights. Hands brushed without fear, mine on hers mid-swipe, fingers interlocking brief, calluses meeting skin. She squeezed, gaze unflinching, warmth lingering in the touch. Reflection washed over me then. From that accidental stare across the steam to this unflinching bond, we'd carved space in the pressure. The journey shifted us, me bolder, her open, turning isolation to intimacy. Future whispered in those moments. Plans beyond the counter surfaced slow. Weekend markets away from the city. Her teaching me knife tricks in a quiet cabin. Lives entwining past the rush. One day, our own place, she'd said once, voice low during a break, eyes on the horizon through the window. The kitchen held us, but it no longer defined the end. We stepped out together that night, door clicking shut behind, the bond carrying us forward. The door clicked shut on our shared future, her hand warm in mine, the night's chill chased by lingering heat. If you've ever felt this quiet truth in the rush, share your story below. Subscribe for more tales of finding connection where least expected.